Hey, this is Michael Falen with Goosehead Insurance. I'm an independent agent in the Oklahoma City area, and I can write policies all over Oklahoma. So if you need help in the future with your homeowners or auto insurance or any of that type of thing, I can always talk to you and go over coverages and make sure to explain the details of certain things. And first of all, congrats on you future purchase of a home, and kudos to you guys for going through these uh, seminars to learn more about the whole process and be a better educated buyer. And what I'm going to do is talk about homeowners insurance today and walk you through coverages and different things to consider, and hopefully you guys will learn a little bit today. And then for sure, if you guys have questions, send them my way. This is actually a recording, so put it in the chat, and they will pass the questions along to me if they can't answer them, and I can help you out. And feel free to reach out anytime. I'm always happy to go over other policies or other quotes that you might receive from others, just to make sure that you're properly covered. One thing I do to separate myself is I just want to make sure that everybody's properly covered and has the correct insurance in place, and then also that they understand and covered for what they want to be covered for, or maybe you want to self-insure a little bit. That's also I will explain that stuff and deductibles and all that type of thing. So appreciate you guys, and let's get started. So there's different types of insurance on your home. You have hazard and homeowners insurance. That's the main type of homeowners insurance. And then you have flood or special hazard insurance on a home. Floods are not covered under your regular homeowners policy, but there are flood carriers out there that will write specific flood policies. And what I'd tell you is, if you guys are getting a loan, you're talking to the loan officer, the mortgage company, if you're in a high risk flood zone, will require you to have flood insurance. But if you're in a low risk flood zone, they will not require you to have flood insurance. But if that's a concern to you, you should definitely look into flood insurance and get all the details about that to make sure you're properly covered to what you want to be covered to. Then we have mortgage life insurance as well. So insurance, what is it? Insurance is it's covering the risk of the possibility of financial loss. So if you think about, you buy a home, so now you have this large investment in the home. Well, if you had a total loss, what happens to that investment? Well, if you don't have homeowners insurance, that is just a loss to you financially. So it's important to have homeowners insurance policy, because most of the time the home is the number one investment or amount of equity or financial asset you have. So it's very important to have home insurance in place so you can cover those potential losses or those potential risks. So insurance is a legal contract that transfers risk from a policyholder to an insurance provider. So your insurance provider will be the carrier. Like if you think about State Farm, Farmers, Safeco, Allstate, Mercury, those are the carriers that are out there to write home insurance policies for you. So once you sign up for a policy and pay the premium, you're transferring that risk that used to be on you, and now it's on them. If there's any type of covered loss or total loss, the insurance company is going to step in front of you and protect that equity that you have in the house. And then also, if you have a loan, it's protecting the mortgage company for the asset that they're helping you buy with a loan. Why is risk important for insurance? Risk analysis is what insurance companies use to determine whether or not to offer you insurance coverage and at what price. So the price is the premium, and they're gonna take in a number of things into consideration, like age of the house, how old is the roof, is there any prior damage, who sometimes they give discounts for certain builders of homes. Just there's all kinds of things that go into risk analysis to determine a premium. And like I said, I'm an independent agent, so what I do for my clients is make sure that we go shop the market for them and find the best price that we can. And then also, more importantly, in my mind, is go over coverages and make sure that you understand what you're covered for, and more importantly, what you're not. And we're going to talk a little more about that here in the slides ahead. Why do I need homeowners insurance? Well, like we talked about before, it's probably most likely the biggest investment you'll ever make. And if you had a major loss on that, that's immediately a loss, or could cause financial disaster if you don't protect it with the right home insurance policy. This is why it's important to take time for this process and really pay attention to specifically coverages, and then not always just look at the price, but make sure that you're truly covered for what you expect to be covered for or need to be covered for. What does the basic homeowners insurance cover? So first of all, pretty obvious that it covers the home. So that's the dwelling. If you think about the first day that you walk into your new home before you bring all your stuff inside, this is the dwelling. So you see the walls, you see the countertops, you see the flooring, you see everything that's in the house. All right, it's part of the dwelling. So that's the dwelling coverage. So roof, walls, frames, roof, etc. Then the next coverage we have is other structures. So when you think about other structure, this is a structure that's detached from the house, so it's not connected to the house. And this includes like a fencing, includes any kind of shed. If you had a pool house or a second kind of garage or detached garage, that's also another structure if it's not attached to the home. It's just the main thing, the criteria for that is it attached to the main structure? If it's not, it would be covered under the other structures coverage, and you're going to have a limit on the other structures dollar amount on how much you're covered there. So you want to make sure if you have some larger other structures that you have enough coverage on that you're fully covered if you had a total loss like tornado coming through or something like that. Another big piece, personal property. So think about when you walk into your new home and you don't have anything in there yet, and you start moving all your stuff in. So all your stuff is your personal property. So that includes like clothing, furniture, TVs, appliances, computers, shoes. I mean, kids' toys, just everything inside the house is your personal property. And here in a few slides down the road, we're going to talk about there's specific categories of personal property that might have sublimits of coverage. So like jewelry, fine arts, collectible items, fine wines. I mean, every carrier has sublimits on how much they'll cover that stuff for. But good thing for all of us, we can, if we talk about the personal property that you have, and there are a few of those items that, hey, maybe might not be fully covered, we can make sure that they're fully covered. We just need to talk about them and list them and add that coverage to your home policy. The next thing is loss of use. So say there's a scenario where you have damage to your house, it's covered by your home insurance policy and the carrier's covering it, but they come out to fix it, and while they're fixing it, you can't live there because it's such a large amount of damage that, hey, you can't live here for the next 2 or 3 weeks while we're fixing this issue. Well, this loss of use gives you money to go stay in a hotel, stay in an Airbnb, stay in a rental home. If you have a total loss because a tornado takes out your house, well, you can't live there while they're rebuilding you a brand new house. Then you have money to go rent another place while it's being rebuilt. And usually loss of use covers up to a year and of expenses there to go rent another place. And then there's also the amount of money there's a limit of the amount of money you can spend on that type of stuff, and then up to a year. So make sure that coverage is sufficient for what you think you would need if you had a scenario where you did have a total loss and tornado takes out your house and they're rebuilding it. So this gives you money to go rent another place. The next coverage piece is personal liability. So personal liability pays for damages the insured is legally obligated to pay due to bodily injury. So due to bodily injury, someone comes over to your home and they're hurt. That's bodily injury. Due to sickness, death of, or property damage to others. So if they're on your property and they have property damage to their own thing, or they come back and they're hurt in the hospital for a week and it happened at your house, and they come back and sue you for pain and suffering, lost wages, and then, I mean, of course, the actual hospital bill. This is when personal liability kicks in. So if the personal liability piece kicks in, the insurance company is going to help you fight that, and then there's an amount of money. And I always write my clients with $500,000 coverage, so usually up to 500,000, but there's other limits you can put on there depending on how you want to customize your own policy. But this covers, legal defense, covers settlement, just it covers that stuff if you're ever in that situation. So this is personal liability coverage. The next thing is medical payments. So medical payments, I mean, might sound a little bit like the personal liability because we talked about bodily injury, but this pays for the first certain amount of medical or funeral expenses incurred by a person on or off the insured's property, regardless of legal liability. So this is just, a lot of times this amount is usually $5,000 or $1,000. It just covers the first, say, $5,000 of medical expenses if someone's injured on your property. And you can talk more to your agent about that when you are customizing your home policy. Additional coverage and underlying limits. So this is the category I talked about a little bit earlier, that there are certain categories that have limits within that property that you have inside your house. So like jewelry, guns, tools, cameras, silver and gold, money, watercraft, computers, business property. These are certain categories that a lot of times the sub limit is usually $1,500 or $3,000, but all carriers are different. So make sure you talk to your agent about that and make sure you have those coverages high enough to cover your personal property that falls within these categories, because there are sub limits. But like when you talk about furniture, couches, they're going to replace that under the personal liability limit, and they don't really have underlying limits there. So whatever you had in your house, depending if you have actual cash value or actual cash value or the amount. So actual cash value is kind of the depreciated amount, but you also have the ability to put replacement cost in place. So if it's at replacement cost, you're going to get a brand new couch or a brand new TV. But if it's at actual cash value, they're going to depreciate that amount. And we'll talk about more about that here in a few slides away. So perils are the cause of the damage. So what causes damage at a house? Well, tornadoes, wind, fire and lightning, explosions can cause that, smoke damage, vandalism, and malicious mischief, theft. Those are perils within a home insurance policy. Falling objects. So really it's just, hey, what causes the damage? That's described as the perils. And then within your home policy, there will be perils that are covered and there will be perils that are not covered. And it's important to make sure that you talk to your agent about that and fully understand what's covered and what's not covered. So some more of this is glass breakage, accidental overflow of water from plumbing. Accidental overflow of water from plumbing is like you could have sewers or drains back up into your house. Accidental electrical damage, so you might have some electrical wires that are malfunctioning and start a fire or something like that. These are perils that cause the damage. So when an insurance agent talks about a peril, just think what causes the damage. That's what a peril is. What's not covered by standard home insurance policies. So we talked about flood a little bit, but there's no home insurance covered or home insurance policy that covers floods. You have to go to a separate flood carrier to get flood insurance. So what I'll tell you is if you're getting a loan to buy a home, the mortgage company, if you're in a higher risk flood zone, they're going to require you to have flood insurance. So you're going to have your regular home insurance policy, then you're going to have to go get another flood insurance policy. And my agency as well works on flood insurance policies at times when those need to be put in place. And then also, if you're in a low risk flood zone, some clients will still want to put a flood insurance policy because they want to be covered for floods. So if you want to make sure you're covered for floods, make sure you talk to your agent about that and get that flood policy in place. So earthquakes, another thing that's not covered, acts of war, nuclear disaster damage because of resulting from lack of maintenance. So if you're not taking care of your home and they come out and figure the damage was caused because it's just neglect to your home, that's not covered. And another big thing is home insurance is not a home warranty. So you can go get a separate home warranty that covers things under a home warranty, but home insurance is not a home warranty. So you have a dishwasher that goes out, or an air conditioner goes out because it's an older air conditioner has just been worn out. That's when you're going to want to have a home warranty in place. And I would talk to your real estate agent about that. And a lot of times they can help you find a home warranty that fits what you need and what you want, what you would expect to be covered. Deductibles. This is a big price driver on home insurance policies. So deductibles are split up in a couple different ways. So most home insurance policies that I write for clients is $1,000 deductible or a $2,000 deductible for everything except wind and hail. And wind and hail has a higher deductible because that's the carriers only allow you to get the deductible so low on wind and hail. And those are usually categories by 1%, 2%, or 3%, et cetera, of the dwelling number. So say your dwelling is covered at $200,000. If you have a 1% wind and hail deductible, that would be $2,000 on that. So say a hailstorm comes through, takes out your roof and you need a new roof, and you have a 1% wind and hail deductible on a $200,000 policy, you're going to have $2,000 out of pocket. And then depending on if they have replacement cost or actual cash value, if it's at replacement cost on the roof, they're going to replace it, the whole thing, and you're just out the $2,000, and the insurance carrier picks up the rest of that repair. So the higher deductible, the less expensive your policy will be. So higher deductibles mean that if there is damage that occurs, the carrier is going to have to pay out less money because you're taking more of the responsibility and self-insuring you for that deductible piece. So that's going to be what's out of pocket for you. So that would make sense that the premium is lower if you have a higher deductible. But the higher deductible you get, just make sure that, you have that money sitting aside and can take care of issues when they come up, and you can still take care of your deductible piece. Here's another example: $150,000 dwelling, 2% deductible. It's just 2% of that 150, which is 3,000. So if you guys have any questions about these or need more input from me, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to help. Add it to the chat, and ladies will pass along your information to me to make sure I reach out and talk to you about this. The next slide, we have actual cash value, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but this is more in depth. So the definition of actual cash value is the value of the property lost or damaged at the time of loss. And this method of valuation takes into consideration depreciation based on such factors as age of the item, market value, condition of the property at the time of loss or damage. So an easy way to explain this is think about your car. So if you bought a brand new car this year and it's a brand new model and say it's $50,000, well, when you go in 5 or 6 years and sell it, well, that $50,000 car that you bought is maybe worth 25,000 there then 5 years later. So that 25,000 would be the actual cash value. So that's a big thing to understand about home insurance policies, because you can have a policy set up as an actual cash value policy, or what we're going to talk about here in a bit, replacement cost. So replacement cost is just buying the thing brand new. So if you had a total loss, they come back and rebuild your house brand new. So it's going to cost more than what the actual cash value is. And so this actual cash value versus replacement costs applies to dwelling, personal property, roof, fence, and flooring, and settlement options. Just make sure that when you're talking to your agent that you understand what you're signing up for with the carrier. So make sure that your agent is properly explaining this stuff and ask them questions to make sure that you get what you want to get on your home insurance policy. So this replacement cost. So there's a difference in the replacement cost versus actual cash value. So the cost of replacing damaged or destroyed property without deduction for depreciation and value of the property. So in that car situation, we talked about $50,000 car, brand new, and then 5 years later, if you replaced it at actual cash value, say it's going to be 25,000. Well, if you replaced it at replacement cost, you're getting a $50,000 car. So this just transfer that into home, and it's just a little easy to understand on a car side of things because they depreciate in value so quick. So replacement costs, this applies to all the same categories as actual cash value. So with my clients on their primary home, I only write replacement cost value policies as much as I can. Certain carriers, once the roof gets sold, they might switch that over to actual cash value anyways and won't allow a replacement cost on the roof. But we can talk more in depth about that when we talk about your specific home you're buying. And like I said, feel free to ask any questions, and some of them might be able to be answered today. And if they're not, make sure to reach out to me and I can help you along with that process and answer those questions. So the value proposition of decision making on your home insurance. So some big things to think about: what discounts can I grab on my home insurance? One of the biggest discounts you can grab is bundling with your auto insurance. So make sure you're talking to your agent about bundling and putting those two lines of business with the same carrier, and grabbing whatever discounts you can grab. Then you can also, based on get discounts with certain carriers based on your occupation, based on your highest level of degree. So say you have a high school diploma, or you have a master's degree or a bachelor's degree, make sure the agent knows that so they can put that into the system, because some carriers give discounts for that. Another important thing we talked about earlier: when to shop for home insurance. Make sure you shop for home insurance right after you sign a contract on a home, because if, say, you're waiting too long in your home insurance and your closing is in like 3 days and you got to get the home insurance in place, that same exact home insurance policy, if you would have got it 2 weeks before, that would be cheaper than it is 3 days before closing. Sorry about that. The phone was ringing at the same time. So just make sure that you're grabbing all the discounts that you can possibly grab, and that's another larger discount. Is if I need home insurance tomorrow and I'm putting it in place tomorrow, it's going to be more expensive than if I need home insurance in 2 weeks and putting it in place today, effective 2 weeks from now. And that's a lot of people don't understand that, so that's something important to think about. And then, how are you going to go shop for insurance? Are you going to use a local agent, or are you going to just go on your own and get online and buy your home insurance online? I've been doing this for over 2 years, and prior to starting my insurance company, I had no idea what was in my insurance policy. No agent had ever went over the coverages with me or explained. I just assumed I was covered for everything. Well, make sure that you go talk to an agent and understand the coverages, and figure out what you're covered for, what you're not, and make sure you're comfortable with that. So that's the benefit of going with a local agent versus just getting online and shopping for yourself. And then another benefit of an agent is customizing your policy. So a lot of times you might not understand what this specific coverage is for, or what that coverage is for. If you have an agent on the line and can talk to you through those situations, you can better customize your particular policy. And then, what does your agent do? Do they also do auto? Do they also handle life insurance, mortgage protection, life insurance, and any kind of specialty like floods or that type of thing? Just make sure that your agent is talking about all those options with you. And then customer incentives. Certain carriers offer claim forgiveness. Some offer declining deductibles. If you don't have a claim in a year or two, they might start slowly declining those deductibles. That applies a lot more to auto insurance than home insurance, but just ask those questions and see if you can grab some more benefit on your policy on those specific categories. So when to shop for insurance? We talked about this. Hey, make sure you're shopping early. So when do you start? Right after you sign your contract for your home. you might as well call the agent in the next couple of days to get that home insurance policy set up, so you can get it over to the agent, or you can get it over to the lender and then check that box off, so the underwriters say, hey, there's insurance in place, all the coverages are set where they need to be set, and sufficient for what they need for the underwriters to sign off on it. So don't wait till the last minute, because a lot of times if you wait till the last minute, you're going to pay a higher premium, just like what we talked about before. If it's closer to the closing date that the insurance needs to be in place, it's going to cost you more than it otherwise would have if you did it earlier. And then make sure coverage is acceptable to the lender. So the lender are going to have certain criteria that has to be met to make sure that their loan is really fully covered for what they're lending out, to make sure if there's a total loss that they get repaid the amount that is owed on the house. So suggest to get a number of different quotes. That's one thing with my independent agency. I can go shop the market for you and go shop over 20 different carriers and get you a few different quotes. And then also, I mean, another thing, if you already have auto insurance with someone, you can check with them as well. But make sure that those agents are going over coverages and making sure you're set up for success, and that you understand your coverages and that you're covered for what you want to be covered for, because you don't want to get into a situation where you have damage and then you call the carrier and it's like, oh, you're not covered for that. Well, I didn't know I was not covered for that. Just make sure your agent's going over this stuff with you. And if you get a quote from someone and they don't go over the coverages with you, feel free to send it to me, and I'll walk line by line through the coverages with you to make sure that you understand what you're signing up for there. A knowledge check. Well, we'll see if I was giving the information over in a digestible manner, and see if you guys can answer these questions. All right. I hope I was successful in that. What is not covered by standard home insurance? So we talked a little bit about that. And then who is responsible for the insurance deductible? Then if you have any questions, feel free to add them in the chat or jump on and ask them. Since this is recording, I'm not actually here. So if those questions are not able to be answered, feel free to reach out to me. Like I said, my name is Michael Falen, and I'm an independent agent, so I can shop the market for you and make sure that you're finding best coverages, best rates, and that type of thing. But more importantly, I'm going to go over the coverages and talk to you about what you're not covered for, and just make sure you're set up right for this new home that you're buying. And for sure, congrats on the new home, guys. This is awesome few weeks. There's a lot that you have to go through and do, but you'll be through it sooner rather than later. And then on the home insurance side of things, if anything ever changes for you or you need help, feel free to reach out to me, and I can always answer your questions. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Have a good one. See ya.